cool. Alright. Well, there was a million other things I meant to do, but okay. Alright, well now I gotta be able to... So if I do that, can I click share, copy link, and I realize I probably don't have Instagram on my iPad. Darn it. Alright, let me download Instagram real quick so I can say that I'm live. This looks okay, right? I look very short. That's mainly because I'm sitting down. Alright. And there we go. Instagram. I tried to have TikTok on my iPad, but then it was just like, let's sign you in, and then it just kept creating accounts instead of signing in to my actual account. Oof, my hair. Alright. It's raining, so it's cold. Alright, open. Don't you love it when people are asking for advice, but you didn't ask? Alright. Allow, continue. Oh, hey, I'm signed right in. Okay. That's fun. Alright, well, let's go here. Continue, allow. Wow, I'm totally prepared. Alright. Let's do that. Don't mind me posing. Disgusting. Let's retake that. Discard. I don't have any photos on my iPad, so. This is so difficult. Link. Copy. No, stop it. Continue. I know what I'm doing. Paste. There we go. It's a lovely day. Copyright, copyright. Alright, I know a lot of people aren't gonna be able to watch this. This is why I'm gonna like upload it later. I love that we got to see technical difficulties, sort of. I'm cold, it's raining, so I have my blanket, but I look cute, and that's all that matters. So, actually I wanted, once people join, I'll actually pull it up on my iPad. Just cause that's smarter. Let me, cool, it's saying I don't have highlights, fun, okay. Let me, there we go. Alright, so, since there's not really much to say, alright, volume's all the way down. I'm gonna make this big screen. Okay, cool, so I get to see myself in like a couple seconds delay with my glorious hair. Okay, so, sorry, I shouldn't watch here. Let me pull up live chat on here. Okay, so it automatically does that. Neat. Okay, one watching, yeah, that's me. I think it's counting myself as me watching, so that's neat. So this is going to be posted later, hopefully. Oh, hey, my boyfriend's on his break. Neat. I should tell him I'm live right now so he can watch for a little bit. Here. This is such a great live. Now that I'm thinking about it, I should probably share my link to Facebook too. And then I'll actually get to what I'm actually doing. Alright, hold on, I have to click on to watch, and then I gotta share, and then I gotta click Facebook. Okay. Gross. Alright. I'm sure there's a way that I can automatically set this up. Alright, so I've already read this story to my boyfriend who is watching right now. I've already read this story to him. I'm on chapter 3 with him, but one, it's my YouTube anniversary. 5 years ago, I started uploading videos on YouTube, so I wanted to do something a little special. Also, it's raining, I'm tired, and I need to do something because schoolwork is happening, but my professor won't email me back. So I'm just gonna read a chapter and then I'm gonna upload this on YouTube so whoever wants to watch it can watch it later. And reading videos actually do really well on my channel, as I've seen in the past. So cool, I can zoom in. Now I don't look as like far away. So it'll be fun. So to do a little bit of catch up, this story takes place in my D&D world. It is kind of like a sequel to a one-shot I did. Hi, sweetie. I see that you just commented. So my one-shot is called The Labyrinth, and it's essentially, there's this concept of a chosen few, which is like a labyrinth, labyrinth thing. It's like Hunger Games and the lottery mixed into one. They have their names chosen even though they've never been to this town. They're just visiting this town, and all of a sudden their names get chosen from this old cup, I think I had it be, and they're immediately whisked away to the castle where they have dinner with the queen, and she kind of explains the ritual of like, well, we have to put on a show for the gods and stuff like that. And through like little bits of conversation, you learn more about the players, which were a bunch of my friends that were able to play. I try to have it be a one-shot, but my friends really like to find everything and role play, so it was kind of hard to keep us on track, but which is fine. We had fun anyway. Eventually down the road, they were put to sleep through food. There was sleep stuff in the food, and then they were taken to the labyrinth, and eventually they found a minotaur, which originally my plan was like, okay, they'll kill the minotaur and find out it was actually a person that was transformed into a minotaur, but one of them had telepathy, like could speak through minds, so found out that the minotaur was actually a person that was forced to be a minotaur, like under a curse. My cleric cured him, and then they had someone else. And they already had one NPC, which was my character that I was playing. If you guys seen my cosplay of Lilith on Instagram and TikTok, that's who it was. That was that NPC. But the Minotaur was a man named Chasen Smithville, which is a very combination of two basic names that I put into one. They got to know him. They got to know that he's been there for maybe over 100 years, that he was there when the first king started this tradition, who was King Ambrose. He started this tradition of sending people into the labyrinth for them to be killed. And it was just this horrid tradition that, like, no one really knows where the origin happened. All that everyone knows is that it starts with King Ambrose. The queen right now is his granddaughter or his daughter, I forget how I did the family tree, named Queen Ambrosia. And this story takes place of Queen Ambrosia's daughter, Mara of Pasiphae. And yes, the town is named Pasiphae because I'm a nerd. My deity list in this world is of the Greek pantheon. So there's that. Eventually they do escape. They had to kill Icarus, who was at the end of the maze. He was like a trapped celestial that I kind of like created. He was supposed to die, but King Ambrose resurrected him, but he did it wrong because he's not a necromancer, that he started to be trapped in both worlds and only had a few moments of clarity, which we'll find out later in the story. They did escape. They had a few words with Mara, who eventually did run off, and that's what this story does. If I have any more like details on this story, I can always put it in like the description. It's my own story, but I tend to forget what I wrote. It's very much like something I wrote that is part of the darker psyche. So this story's called Oh, She's a Little Runaway because I'm a nerd. And I'm going to be reading chapter 1 just for today. I might continue to read down the road, and I might continue to like edit. I could do more live videos of these, of me just reading my story, talking a lot, and I work at a place where I shout numbers, so my throat hurts. So chapter 1, bitter. That's what Mara means. Bitter, like dipped herbs in salt water. Bitter like tears from crying far too much. Bitter like the salty air from the glorious sea. Bitter. My mother had named me something that didn't define me. I wasn't bitter. I've never been bitter. I'll tell you what I am. I am weak, cowardly, small. I'm boring and always will do as I'm told. I fear rejection and disappointment. I please everyone in fear they will abandon me. If my mother was going to name me, at least have it be accurate to who I am. A name that accurately defines me as the weak person that I am. But who am I? I'm a stupid small girl who has no power. At least that's what my mother always implied. I need to do trigger warnings. Hey, trigger warnings. This is a dark story, kind of. Mara is an abused kid. So if that's a sensitive subject, I suggest you don't continue to listen, because it is a sensitive subject. I do not make any light of it in my story, because literally she's an abused kid. She's going through a lot, and if that's a sensitive subject, like I literally just said, please stop watching, because I don't want anyone to have a panic attack due to my story because I didn't put a trigger warning. There might be some points where I go a little bit darker into the horror aspect because I like horror. It's beautiful. But yeah, alright, sorry. At least that's what my mother always implied. Though, my mother always lied, so why should I believe a liar? She lied about the labyrinth, she lied about my father, she lied about the Minotaur, she lied about the victims. That's all she did. She lied. She always lies. Even though she lies, this is something I believe. I believe that I'm not enough. I wasn't enough to save those who were close to me. I wasn't enough to be drawn to be part of the chosen few. I wasn't enough for my mother, and she reminded me so. I will listen to her no longer. I will make a new definition of myself and my name. I will bring myself a new name that suits me better. I am Mara from the small town of Pasiphae in the crater of Over the Mountain, and this is the story of my new life. I was once a princess, daughter of a monster named Queen Ambrosia. My father is unknown to me, and as far as I know, he is dead. I am alone in my family chain, the chain of murderers and manipulators, the chain of evil, vile, and injustice. Hold on. Chain of vile, evil, and injustice. This is the chain I am breaking. I am ending the chain of torture and abuse. It ends. It ends with me. It all ends with me. I'm not alone in this process. I have someone with me on this journey. He was a victim of my family's torture and pain, Chase in Smithville. The man forcibly transformed into a minotaur of the labyrinth by his very own best friend, Trevor Stone. Another very basic name. Trevor was a wizard of the transmutation class. He was the man who took care of me when my mother couldn't be bothered. He taught me how to hone in my magic. I was born with magical skills I never understood. Before he started teaching me, I had fun with magic. It was a creative outlet for me. It was glorious. It was glorious, colorful, artistic, wild. When Trevor started to teach me, I learned the dangerous dark side of magic. The day I used magic on an innocent person under the orders of my mother and Trevor, I shut it down. I rarely use magic anymore. Ever since then. Trevor was not a kind man. My stomach went into knots whenever he observed me and my magic. The way he looked at me similarly to a predator examining its prey. He's the reason I have major gaps in my memory. He used spells to do away with certain things. I can't remember parts of my childhood, nor can I remember the majority of my teen years. I don't know the reason for the erasure of my memories to be used. Yep, but he took them from me. I intend to get them back by any means. Trevor might have erased my memory because I had gotten too close to learning of my father, or possibly to eradicate my empathy and kindness, possibly to turn me into a murderous machine. I do know that was my intention. Hold on, yes? Rather, my mother's intention for me. I know I was supposed to be the new monster for the labyrinth. I know of the tests and the experiments on others. I do not remember who or where they are, but I have a slight memory of wandering too close to the truth. Here's a fun moment to say I'm dyslexic, so when I read and then I kind of like pause for a second, I'm like, that's correct, right? Did I write that good? Like, that's what my brain's doing. I see that my boyfriend said it was a fun one-shot, and it was fun. I enjoy being a DM. It doesn't happen as often as I'd like, but I do greatly enjoy DMing games. I lost the majority of my life, and I wish to avenge and salvage my childhood. Chasen deserves this too. Or at least closure. Which also, closure is such a weird spelled word. I think, at least, I might have spelled it wrong, but Google hasn't helped me with anything. He deserves to know why Trevor did that to him, and who gave him the order to do it. He deserves to know why the majority of his life was spent in hell. He deserves to have his life back. Whether he wanted to know the answers or not was a mystery to me, but if he did want to know, I was ready to tell him everything. Jason didn't talk to me for a bit. I was a bit upset, but he has every right not to talk to me. I'm the daughter of the monster who tortured him, the descendant of the man who founded the Chosen Few lottery. I was everything that caused him to be where he is now. Jason had every right. He had every right not to talk to me. Every white. Wascally webbits. But dear gods, I wanted to talk to him. I wanted to know his relationship with Trevor. I wanted to know what his life was like in the labyrinth, how it felt. I love you too, baby. You have a great day at work. I'll make sure to text you later. Sorry, he got on his break from work, and yeah. Anyway. I wanted to know his relationship with Trevor. I wanted to know what his life was like in the labyrinth, how it felt to be. You know, you love it when you write words that aren't the words you wrote. How it felt to be How it felt to be human again after he was saved by the true chosen few. What Icarus looked like and how it felt when his soul was finally at rest. Thanks, baby. I love you too. I wondered and wanted to ask him if he had the same nightmares I did about the boy, or if I was the only one who had them. Yes, I had nightmares about the boy Icarus. If you know the original story of the labyrinth, it's cause Daedalus. was trapped in there. I forget why. Minotaurs in the labyrinth, but Daedalus was in there, and so was his nephew Icarus, and they made wings, and wings made of wax, and Icarus flew too close to the sun, and then fell to the ocean, and, and passed on. So, yeah. Okay, okay. The nightmares I had of the boy started off scary. It was him in his true form. His screams echoed through my body. Some nights I woke up screaming along with him. What I'm doing is my eyes are darting to other words, so I keep darting ahead to the story, and that's why I'm also messing up, and also I have dyslexia, so it's great. The vision-like dreams frightened me at first, but eventually I was able to talk to the boy. I had talked to his soul. I walked up to him and grabbed a hand. I pulled him down and helped him realize that he was in a state of peace and control. I spoke to him. I calmed him down. We got to know each other after that. My mother never showed me the labyrinth, but Icarus did. I knew everything that happened in the labyrinth. He guided me down the halls. Everything was bright, unlike what my mother had described to me. My mother said it was a dark, dank place. Icarus showed me it was a beautiful, clean place. He held my hand and showed me every turn and every trap. He made sure I was safe going through the traps. He held me close on certain ones. I liked being close to him. Sometimes when I think about him, I can still feel his warmth. Some nights I made sure that I got to know him. He explained the pain that he had gone through. He was supposed to be a story from a land called Terra. I wasn't sure if he was telling me the truth about the place. I know Terra is a star, but not a plane or planet. From what he told me, Icarus was supposed to be a myth. Fortunately, he was real and alive. Every day was filled with excruciating pain and suffering. His mind was not his own, and he had no control. He only could say his name to keep his sanity. My name is Icarus. Please help me. I am trapped. He desperately just wanted to die and live on in our underworld of Shar-dia. Shar-dia is the name of my world, by the way. I, on the other hand, didn't want him to die. I researched everything I could to try and learn if there was a way to save him. I scoured every book in the castle's library, trying to find anything that could bring him back. I wanted to show him a better life, full of hope and promise, one of light and laughter, and maybe I could help him start him a new life. I could help him start a new life. Maybe with me. I guess you could say that I fell in love with a fallen trapped celestial. There was little to no research on trapped celestials, outside of the personal library as well. That made sense. There was little to no research on trapped celestials outside of the personal library as well. That doesn't make sense. I'll rewrite that later. I looked high and low everywhere I could. I even requested to do some research in Handsmaid and Torso, the most educated homen over the mountain. And there's nothing on those who were like Icarus. He was the first case, patient zero. There was no hope for Icarus. He had to be put to rest. It hurt my poor heart, but it had to happen. It was fated to happen. My only hope was that he wouldn't be alone. I never told anyone about my dreams with the boy. I couldn't. The consequences would be terrible. I had worried that either I would be labeled as one of the insane and be sent to the West Mountain, or worse, my mother would find out and experiment on me. She could finally send me as the next monster for the labyrinth. I did not take fancy to either outcome, so I decided to keep it to myself. He was my secret crush. I loved him like a young girl would, but I knew he didn't feel the same about me. Why would he? I was just a small girl. There was nothing special about me. What would catch his eye? He's a beautiful, powerful celestial. How could he notice me romantically? I remember that heartbreaking day I had to tell him there was no hope. I had just come back from the village to make sure that they were getting started on the preparations for the tradition of the chosen few. I made sure people were ready and that others were saying goodbye to their family. Other houses I couldn't go into, as some people wanted to say goodbye with more of an amorous exchange. I made sure the lights were magical dancing lights and not fire, in case those who had a pyrophobia came to visit. The ribbons were hanging from each house, different colors asking to be... the ribbons were hanging from each house, different colors were asking to be picked, and others requesting to be passed over from the ritual. The final step was to make sure that the white bowls were being polished, and they were. I could almost see my reflection in them. The different ribbons for this world is that there's one colored ribbon of like, yes, pick me for the chosen few. And then there's other ribbons that's like, please, for the love of gods, do not. Kind of like Passover, but with ribbons. Or at least the Passover that I was always taught. Some of the villagers did not know it was me. Some of the villagers did know it was me, but others paid no mind. I had a hood to disguise myself a bit. Those who did know that it was me either made a conversation pretending I was not royalty, or they begged for mercy. Either way, I hated going out in public to the villages. They expected me to do something, to fix this mess. I couldn't do anything. Something that I do notice now as I'm writing this, the final chosen few never lived here. They came from different areas of Shar-dia. Two were sailors of sorts. One was a cleric of Hestia, I assumed from up north. One was an air genasi who was a farmer, and one was of the woodlands, which still boggles my mind. And one still confuses me. One was not from here. It puzzles me as to how their names were even in the lottery. They didn't even live in Pasiphae. How were their names there? I finally made it home, avoiding any more villagers. It was dark as the majority of the candles were blown out. Moonlight poured through the windows, guiding my way to my room. I was hoping to sneak into my room and take a bath and fall asleep with no servant or my mother noticing. That was my hope anyway. I barely turned the knob on the door to my room when I felt eyes on me. Eyes that felt all too familiar. The observant eyes of Trevor, that horrible wizard. The weasel of a man. The weak cobblestone to a foundation of magic. I felt his eyes burn into my back as I stiffened. Late night travels, little spell. My voice cracked. He calls me that horrible nickname, like he has a right to it. Like he was close enough to me to call me such a name. Just doing my task as my mother requested, Mr. Stone. At this time, I did not know that he had turned Chasen into the Minotaur. I have dyslexia. She had asked that I made sure the people were preparing for the tradition of the chosen few. Have you consulted the oracle? He stated, stepping towards me, nearly cutting off my way to my room. I had assumed that was already been done by those who had that job. I raised an eyebrow at him, trying to put on a mean face. Are you assuming that it was my job? He gave me a dark look as a result of my disrespect. And if I am, I crossed my arms. My heart was pounding my chest. I'd never spoken like this to him. His frustration and anger was apparent. You will do well to not assume, little spell. He casted a spell to make his eyes change from a normal icy blue to an intense, deep red. It will get you into terrible troubles. I stayed silent as fear took my voice from me. I like how I said that. Oh, is that silence? He chuckled. That's what I thought. He then smiled a cruel smile. If you will follow me, little spell. I set my jaw and followed. I knew if I had more bravery, if I had a friend, if I was a different person, I would be able to stand up for myself. With that strength, then I would be able to talk back to my mother. I would be able to take down that predator of a man. I'd be stronger, I'd be braver, I'd be a hero that I would read about in my storybooks. I wish I had a hero's bravery. I could be more strong like Sir Adam from The Tale of Two Tieflings, or I could be beautiful and brave like Anastasia from A Shroom of Love. I could be powerful like the sorcerer in the Wastelands Parable. I've read so many stories of brave people. Why couldn't I be like them? Why was I not allowed to be brave? Then I remembered who my mother is, and then I know why. Mr. Stone guided me all the way down to where we keep our oracle. It is a room far away from everyone else, tucked away in a faraway high tower, possibly the highest one. I never come here often. I'm not allowed, not ever since the first time. My earliest memory that I can remember from my childhood is in that room. I had walked in by accident and met the oracle. I thought she was just another kid. I thought she was a friend. I colored with her, she played with me. I remember we played pretend. I don't know why I said that like it was a poem. We were both knights of Apollo. I had wanted a different god, but she insisted. We were having a lot of fun. Then my mother came. She was in a furious rage. Some days I remember her icy blue eyes shooting the daggers into both of us. You know, like how you stare and they're like daggers. That's not what it says. She had scooped me up and cursed the oracle. She scolded me and forbade me from entering the room again. Despite that, I still have drawings and the memories. I was 6 at the time. Let's go me. Ugh. Trevor opened the door for me. Has she not given a prophecy? I asked him, my voice as quiet as ever. She wouldn't answer me. He replied with anger in his voice. She stayed silent and continued to draw. The prophecy is in the drawings, Mr. Stone. I left him before he could yell at my disrespect. I said, it's not written like disrespect, but like she's not, I don't know, to me she's not being disrespectful, she's just being sassy. Well, Mr. Stone hasn't earned her respect, so like, I felt his eyes burning a hole in the back of my head. I'd rather his eyes glare than examine me. I entered a familiar, dark, eerie room, a singular twin-sized bed tucked into a corner with an old, dilapidated mattress. I noticed there was no sheets, and the blanket had many holes. The pillow was as thin as paper. The bed, compared to the rest of the room, looked nice. There was papers and drawings scattered everywhere on the floors and on the walls. All was scribbled nonsense that were prophecies. A small dresser tucked under the window looking out towards the view of Junebug Villa, which is another place in over the mountain. I should just do a live stream. No, I wanted to do a video of explaining my D&D world, because that's all I'm going to be talking about for the next forever. In the center of the dark room was the oracle. Trigger warning. This is where the scary bit comes in. It's just more creepy. Looking the same as she did the day I met her. A small girl covered in dirt. Hair covering her sunken, soulless face. Eyes dark and cruel to those unfamiliar. She looked as if she was a skeleton. Her skin barely clung to her bones. A ratty, dirty dress covered her small body. She was scribbling away furiously on a paper, with a piece of charcoal clutched in her small hand. Oracle? I called out as the door shut behind me. She looked up to me. Her black, beady eyes stared at me. My heart clenched in fear, but I kept my cool. I don't know why it says that. Oracle to me. Mara of the Phoenix. Ignore my little kid voice, because I don't know how to do a kid voice. She interrupted. You grew. She tilted her head. I wasn't ready for you to grow. Phoenix? I shook my head. She does this often. She gets me confused with others sometimes. No, never mind that. Mr. Stone said that you wouldn't give him a prophecy. I don't like him, she said, continuing to scribble. Neither do I. He doesn't pay attention, she continued. He looks out for himself and only himself. He's blinded for seeking a way to build power for himself. She paused and looked at me. Through you. This... Fear choked my throat. This doesn't seem like a prophecy. It's not. It's not. She smiled an oddly beautiful smile. We're friends. I'm warning you as a friend. There was a pause. How old are you? I echoed a question I asked when I first met her. Older than you. She gave me the same answer she gave me then. She hasn't aged a day, yet she was older than me. Products of the gods are strange yet beautiful. Why warn me? Because things are going to change. A dark look came over her. The boar will be put to rest, and finally the town to Pasiphae will fall and turn to ash. The chosen 7 will break the illusion, to break the chain of this tradition from the days of dawn. 7? I question. There's never 7, only 6 or 5. Do not question the oracle. Do not question the oracle, the dark look resumed. There will be pain from all corners in our small town. The power of the hearth will burn this place to the ground. The labyrinth will stand as a new city and rise from the ashes. Like a phoenix. The phoenix needs to die before it is reborn. I felt my heart leap with anxiety. She had called me a phoenix a moment ago, but that had to be someone else, right? Not me. Why would it be me? It's you, Mara. It's you, Mara. As if she could read my thoughts. You are Mara the Phoenix. No! I shook my head as I noticed tears were falling from my face. No, not me. The gods picked a wrong girl. Pick someone else. You. Is the door about to open? I think my gerbil's eating. All right, sorry, he's a very loud chewer, so like you could hear him everywhere. I got a gerbil, by the way. You, she stood up and walked to me. The girl who saves worms from drying up in the hot sun. The girl who grows her own strawberries for the slugs on her windowsill to eat. The girl who loves so deeply within her whole heart that she cries every night for the people of Pasiphae. You will rebuild this town from the ashes and rule with grace and strength. She held my face. You will rule over the land of Icarus. No! I pushed her away. I reject this prophecy. It is your destiny. She looked at me with her big eyes. This is what you were meant to do. I do not want to rule. I don't want this. I got off my knees. I reject this prophecy. You will not be like your mother. She looked up to me. You will rule differently. You will remember the history and it will be taught, but taught in a way that is negative and a cultist group. I started to walk away. I will not. There is no way to save Icarus, she yelled, and I stopped walking. He will die and will be at rest. That is when the chaos will begin. Oracle. I started but thought hard. Is there a way to stop it? Just for a little longer. She paused and closed her eyes. No. Amara has entered the village. Eris has said goodbye to his Philip. Alexander and Atlas have just arrived on their ship. Lilith has fallen. Alamar has been given his mission from Queen Ophelia. Everyone is following the path that is laid out for them. Trust them, and all will be well. Icarus said there's one survivor. I looked at the small girl. Darian Dearborn. He was chosen years ago, before my mother and I. Elven folk live for a long time. Darian will be the final choosing moment for the few. Thanatos would claim him, due to ambrosia. My mother, I mumbled. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the blood of the womb. The blood of the womb has a good chokehold, I laughed to myself. Not for much longer. The oracle smiled an almost evil smile. There was a sinister pause. What should I tell Mr. Stone? Tell him this. Tell him this. She handed me a drawing. That everything is going to go according to plan. The most beautiful lie. Because it doesn't explain which plan. I took the drawing. It was of a boy with magnificent wings. Sorry, with giant magnificent wings. There's a difference. It was my Icarus. As much as these prophecies looked like optical illusions, I could see that he was being embraced close with a spear in his chest. Even though it was a charcoal drawing, you could sense the love from the embrace. It brought me comfort. Icarus wasn't going to die alone. I smiled and thanked the oracle before leaving her once again in the dark room. She said this place was going to burn to ash, that chaos was going to ensue. And if that was what the future held, I was going to get her out of here. She had been locked away for too long. She deserves to see the sun shine on her again. As the door shut behind me, I handed the paper to Mr. Stone. His eyes narrowed as he examined it closely. Everything is going to go according to plan, I lied, hoping my nose didn't twitch. Will it now? He leaned down to me, showing me the drawing. This picture gives you away. How does it do so? I built up the courage and stood up straight. I'm not good at that. Clearly the person there is being stabbed by Icarus with their own spear. I adjusted my cloak before turning away. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to bed. Oh boy. I left him in the dark hallway before he could say anything to reply. I could hear him intake breath, but halt as we both started to hear singing. Soft melodic singing, like a music box with a small ballerina inside. Soft and cold. The oracle had started to sing to herself. Nothing is more terrifying than a child singing while it is at night. Something about it set my hair on end. Sorry. The song was one that I remembered from my youth. It had nearly unlocked an ancient memory. She had taught me to sing. This was the first song. This melody was dark with a soft, cheery tune, like a nursery rhyme. Now, I sang this differently when I was reading this to my boyfriend, so I don't remember how it's supposed to go, but we'll work it out. Wow, I've been going live for almost an hour. My throat. Alright. Chains will fall, chains will break. Save the children for God's sake. Pure of hate, pure of pain, happiness through the rain. Burn, burn, brain break, that is what the birds sing. Death of the celeste will bring blood, sweat, tears, blood, crying, wailing through the streets. The queen is angry, the queen is done. Here comes the phoenix, you all run. That is not at all how I sang it. As I walked away, I hummed it to myself with new clarity. I tried not to let the fear of the future fill my head. I had a lot to tell Icarus tonight, and I couldn't be distracted. I prayed that he would be willing to listen. This may be the last time I could talk to him for a lifetime. I wanted to make every moment count. I wanted to tell him everything I could before it was too late. My only fear is that I wouldn't be able to conjure up the bravery to tell him that I had fallen for him. The very thought of his golden eyes staring at me made my knees weak and made myself incredibly sweaty. The fear of the unknown, the fear that he wouldn't feel the same. Even if he didn't, I wouldn't force him to like me back. If anything, I'd let my feelings be known so I wouldn't keep secrets from him. He didn't need to like me back. For God's, I wanted that so badly. Once I made it to my room and started my nighttime rituals, as many thoughts swam through my head, making it feel as if no time... I'm deleting that once. I made it to my room and started my nighttime rituals, as many thoughts swam through my head, making it feel like no time had passed at all. I was in the midst of brushing my hair when a knock on the door shocked me out of my daydream. "Mara," my mother's voice called from the other side of the door. "May I come in?" "Of course, Mother." My voice visibly shook. I don't know why she asked. She was going to walk in no matter my answer. My mother was in her nightgown and robe, her hair barely touching her shoulders. Her slender frame walked in slowly, like a snake slithering into a nest of eggs. Unwanted memories invaded my mind, memories of countless dinners with various chosen few. My mother telling me to be silent so I wouldn't yell for them to run. Memories of her catching me leaving or going to one of the chosen few, then proceeding to punish me by putting me in the cellar. Terrible classes and terrible magic crystals embedding into my skin. My screams echoing and bouncing off the walls of the castle. Like I said, it gets dark. If you don't like it, leave. Intrusive thoughts broke through my head, thoughts of her hurting countless others, more than the chosen few. That's upstairs. Sorry, I heard a door. I worried for the safety of the people of Pasiphae and Icarus. No one was safe with my mother ruling. Anyone who disagreed with her, she found a way to do away with. So many families are broken and lost because of my mother. I can finally see her for what she truly is. A monster. My mother was the true monster of the labyrinth. "My dear Nightshade." She sat down in my chair. "Come to Mother." I stepped towards her, my footsteps slow. Fear crept back up in my throat. I took my usual position that my mother requests when she comes in here. I rested my head down in her lap and she stroked my hair softly. It used to be a sweet and comforting motion, but now it felt like talons scraping my skull. "What troubles you, my dear?" My mother always could sense that I was afraid. She always knew that what was troubling me. In a different home, under different circumstances, this would be helpful. "I'm afraid of what the chosen few could bring." Technically not a lie, just not the whole truth. "Oh, my Nightshade." She pushed hair behind my ear. "There's nothing to worry about. Everything is going to be absolutely fine." There was a pause as my wind chimes clinked in the wind. I thought I could sense a hint of uncertainty within my mother's voice. Was she as afraid as I was? Did Trevor send her a message about the oracle? Was that why she was here for me? You do know why we do this, correct? She broke the silence. Yes, I knew why. I just didn't agree with it anymore. To please the gods and give them an enjoyable show. And she started to stroke my cheek. A little voice in my head was screaming for her to stop touching me. And I took a deep breath. Our land needs a sacrifice in order to grow. The fields must be watered with the blood of the chosen few so we may prosper. The words fell out of my mouth with ease. It was rehearsed and taught me for countless days of my life. Sacrifices are necessary for life. For us to get what we want in life, she added in a hushed whisper. Sacrifices must be made. I held my tongue. I've grown since I learned this. I no longer felt it was true. I don't believe what we're sacrificing to be beneficial to helping us. These are individual lives. Don't they matter? Don't these souls deserve a better story to be told? These mortals have mothers, fathers, perhaps siblings. They have best friends, favorite people, even pets. Don't their lives matter? Don't they deserve life? Doesn't their story deserve a better ending? Darian Dearborn has been trapped in the labyrinth for so long. He's from before my mother and I. Doesn't he deserve a better story? Doesn't his life matter? He deserves to have spent his life with his family in his final days. Not alone being claimed by Thanatos. Him and his family deserved a better ending. I refuse to believe that every chosen few's fate was to die for no reason. I refuse to believe that. They were supposed to live different, a better life, one that was happy with little trials. They deserve that, but fate doesn't care. My mother never believed that their lives mattered. If their life doesn't matter, then neither does mine. There is no need for death with no meaning or closure. I've lost count of how many lives my mother has claimed. I think I lost track after I turned 10. There was a year when I made my first friend. He was a visitor from a town from over the mountain. I think he said he was from the resurrected city, which I knew was a myth. I assumed he was just messing with me, as boys do. I had gotten close to him. When his name was pulled from the lottery. I'm trying to be emotional here. I had lost him. We couldn't even say goodbye. That was the one dinner my mother didn't let me join. She knew I would have screamed the truth. When the chosen few were knocked out, I was sent to the dungeons for a late-night class session. That was at least what we called it. It was a terrible life for the torture I had to go through. It's a wonder how my first impulse to others is to be kind. Icarus has shown me how my friend died. Icarus gave me closure when no one else could. My friend had died due to madness. His eyes were pure white and his mouth was agape. In his hand he clutched the rose I had given to him. To this day I still understand why my mother had let him keep it. My mother broke for his death, but I knew him more than the others. Ever since then, I start putting myself in the chosen few's shoes. Because I know them, their lives mean more to me. Sorry. It's getting late, my nightshade. She patted my head. I moved for her to stand up. You need your rest. We're having guests tomorrow. Yes, Mother. I nodded. Do we know them well this time? I have an idea. She didn't know I could catch her cruel look from the reflection in my window. But I'm not entirely sure. Where they live? She glared at me as I stared outside. Do they ever? Sometimes they do. They never do, Nightshade. She sighed. Get some rest. Stop worrying about things you cannot control. Even jerks can give good advice. She left my room. Chills went down my spine. My room felt colder. The comforting warmth my room usually has had left when my mother arrived. An unfriendly cold that seeps deep into your skin, and your only thought is to find warmth. I had the urge to scream, run. Thoughts overwhelmed me. I couldn't stop shaking. I couldn't stop shaking. I needed a warm bath. I moved in a daze over to the balcony. I took a shaky breath and I sobbed. I cried for everything I could, for my lost childhood, for the lack of change, for the lives lost with endings I couldn't control, for my sheltered life, for my lack of friends, for my lack of confidence, for my distaste for myself, for the people of Pasiphae, for everything my heart broke for. I cried for as long as I could. My heart felt better afterwards. Sorry, the wind picked up outside my window and, like, scared me. It's like, okay, wind, I hear you. It was like, woo, woo, woo. I'm just trying to read a story. Once I was done, I wiped tears from my eyes and I looked across the land. I looked at the rooftops of homes and imagined my life as if I was a small country girl. I imagined a different family, a different life. I imagined a boy taking a fancy to me and me being completely obvious. Me being completely oblivious until they kiss me and I fall in love slowly and then all at once. I imagine a new mother who encourages my adventurous side and lets me go on adventures. A mother who is there for me and teaches me the bad of the world. I try to imagine a father, but that is so hard for me. Excuse me. The only male figure I've had is Trevor, and he is a terrible, manipulative man. That night, I remember I had noticed a figure on a rooftop. They seemed to be watching me, but I wasn't fully sure. I couldn't make out who they were, but I felt a strange pulling sensation. Like a rope was being tied around it and I was pulled forward towards this individual. The feeling left quickly as a dove landed on my balcony, breaking my supposed eye contact with the stranger. I observed the sweet dove, and it puffed its chest and fluttered its wings. It was an adorable creature. And then I looked at the stranger, who seemed to have a dove friend of their own too. I chuckled to myself. Then they raised their hand, and from what I can remember, they gave me a thumbs up and motioned towards the dove. I found myself laughing as I motioned to my own bird and shrugged. They were wearing dark clothing and it was night, so I couldn't make any details out on their face. I couldn't place why my heart was thumping. They waved and jumped off the roof, startling the bird and myself. I watched as they walked down the street out of my field of view. The smile faded from my face. I wasn't aware I was smiling. How much more do I have of this story? Chapter 1's long, guys. I watched the dove fly away and then turned to my room. It was time for rest. I needed sleep before I was to meet everyone the next day. I didn't care about that. Right now I only cared about meeting Icarus. Tonight and telling him what I know about his fate. Can you tell I'm getting tired? And hopefully I could tell him how I feel about him. I rested my head on my pillows and fell asleep, and sleep immediately took me away. Darkness swirled beneath my cold eyes. I felt as if I was transported into a new world. This feeling I felt time and time again to meet the boy with wings. The boy who drowned, trapped in the world between worlds. I was in the labyrinth, but not quite it. It was bright and beautiful, full of wonder and mystery. I'd assumed this was what it looked like when my great-grandfather built this place. Okay, so it's Mara's great-grandfather. So that would make it Ambrosia's grandfather. I know things. This is my world. It would be Icarus's first memory when he was first brought here. I have the playback right here on my iPad, so it's just fun watching me freak out. Yeah, you have a big brain, Michaela. When he was first brought here, he wasn't resurrected here. I wonder how the king had brought him here. Ooh, what could have happened? I don't know. Well, I do know, but I'm not telling you. I walked through the giant double doors, and there he was, sitting on the throne like he usually does when he waits for me. Head in one hand, elbow rested on his lifted knee. Is it like this, or is it like this? I think it's like this. His hair was bright and gorgeous. He was always so attractive to me. His hair was always so attractive. And him, but hair. He watched me walk in and smile. Was that upstairs or thunder? Because both I don't like. He watched me walk in and smile. It was a bigger smile than usual. He practically jumped up and ran to me and embraced me into a big hug and spun me around. For me, it felt as if I was flying. Icarus was trapped in his mind. He barely had moments of sanity. I was blessed to be part of the few seconds where he had control. I lingered on the hug a bit longer than I usually do. Icarus didn't let go this time. Usually, he was the first to let go. "Don't let go, Mara," he whispered in my ear. "What?" I questioned as he pulled back and held my face to look into my eyes. "Don't let me go. Please." His golden eyes made my heart flutter. "Icarus," I started. "I know I'm going to die." He smiled. I'm strangely excited for it. "Well, if I was a trapped celestial, I would be excited too." Bad joke, Mara. Bad joke. I literally wrote that. That's literally her inner monologue. If this is my last he's so nervous. "If this is my last lifeline to you, I want to make it count." He paused and observed my face. "Have you been crying again?" "Don't waste what little time we have on my struggles," I pleaded. "Icarus, I need to tell you something." "Mara." How he said my name always set my heart aflutter. "Don't let go of me, please." "I'm not planning to." As I smiled as tears teased to fall one more. "Your hugs were all I looked forward to. Your laugh was like nectar to my ears. Your smile put sunsets to shame, and your eyes," he stroked my hair. "Oh, your beautiful eyes. They remind me of the trees and grass of the outside world." What have you, what? She's nervous too. What are you saying?" It sounded like as if he had rehearsed this, as if he was a bard preparing for a poetry performance. "Isn't it obvious, Mara?" He raised an eyebrow. I looked down. "I don't want..." "What?" He met my gaze. "Tell me, Mara. Don't keep things from me. Not on our last day." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. "Icarus." I felt fear butterflies tickle my stomach. I am in love with you. I have been. You're the only friend I have, and now I'm going to lose you too." I stopped as a sobbing choked my throat. "I'm not ready to say goodbye." Icarus held my face and stared at me with those golden eyes. "Mara of Pasiphae, you are the kindest, most loving mortal I know. You are the only good soul I sensed, and I immediately wanted to connect with you. You're beautiful, clever, powerful, and so very brave." "Icarus, I'm not done," he smiled. "I am lucky to call you my friend, but I am more lucky to have gotten to know you each night," and it was his turn to look down. "I've actually grown feelings for you as well." All I remember in this part was me losing my words. I didn't speak, and if I did say anything, I cannot remember. All I remember is one small thing. Well, one small thing to most. One big thing for me. "Mara, may I kiss you?" Yes, the words came out of my mouth before I could think. Have you ever kissed an immortal? It's like kissing any mortal, but once you kiss an immortal, you know it'll be a memory for countless lifetimes. I was glad I could have a good memory. I wish there was a way to save Icarus. I wish he could have been mine forever. But that was selfish. I couldn't get away the fate because I wanted to have a happy life. That's not my fate. I'm not allowed to have a happy ending. There was a pause after our long kiss, both of us taking in the moment. Me processing that someone liked me, and Icarus processing that was probably his last kiss. "There's no hope," I muttered. "I wish there was, but there isn't." I looked up to him. "I want to be with you forever." "Sweet, kind Mara," he held my face. "You are enough to last more than a lifetime. I'm deeply in love with you. But please know, this is out of both of our hands. I just want to be with you." "The only way to do that, Mara, is to pass on." He looked deep into my eyes. "I don't want you to pass on. Your life isn't done yet. You're going to have a good life, trust me." "How do you know that?" I looked ahead. I needed to know that you were going to be all right. "How? Mara." Don't waste our short time with questions, he smirked. I couldn't tell you anyway. Always pulling a prank, I laughed. Icarus didn't respond. He just stared at me. Stared at my smile, my eyes, my hair, my dimples. He stared at me. And not like how Trevor does. Icarus saw me for me, and I loved how he looked at me. I will never forget you, I told him, hugging him one final time. Trust me, Mara, he hugged back. And as the flame of light engulfed us both. And I will never forget the mortal woman I fell in love with. The next morning, I woke up with a tear-stained face, the servants of the castle surrounding me, trying to get me out of the bed and into a bath so I could get ready for the festival of the chosen few. My mother was observing me with a careful eye, but for once I didn't care. Only one thought stayed in my mind. My first kiss was with a celestial. Finally! My throat! Oh boy. Alright, so that's chapter 1. Hopefully I can upload this so future viewers can watch. Yeah, this is a project that I've been working on for quite a bit. I kind of stopped working on it because I got burnt out for a little bit, and then school picked up, so I haven't had a moment to write this more. There's chapter 2. It also has that very intense start. For me, like, beginning chapters, like, my brain's like, no, they have to have that intense beginning, and then I can have mellow beginnings. Like, almost every chapter is going to be kind of like writing the beginning of a book. I don't know if I'm going to publish this. I don't think I could, because it's going to, unless I have, like a prologue, be like, this is what this story is about. But I think it would be cool to publish this. My voice is cracking, because I've been using my voice for the past 3 days. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. Thank you, Shua, for joining. I hope that people do watch this eventually. I enjoy reading what I write, because I'm really proud of what I write. So I hope everyone stays safe. You guys are honestly really great. I'm glad that my account's kind of growing a little bit. And I hope to see you guys in the next video, and subscribe for more of my cringy content. Bye, guys. Now let's see how I can do this.